ASEAN economic ministers met in Brunei. What does the future hold for merger and acquisitions in Vietnam? As Mid-Autumn Festival approaches, we'll learn more about the business of homemade mooncakes. Those are the headlines for this week's Bizline, your economic magazine on VTV4. Hello from Hanoi, and I'm your host Linh Hương. Let's now start with the highlights from last week. Both national exchanges suffered a losing streak this week. On the Ho Chi Minh City boards, the benchmark VN index fell 4 days in a row as foreign investors actively sold large-cap stocks to take profit. The index shed over 24 points between Monday and Friday to close at 486.82. Trading values were generally higher than last week's level and hit a high on Tuesday, with stocks worth over $73 million traded. On the Hanoi City's boards, the HNX index dropped 1.5 points over the course of the week, closing at 61.42. Trading value kicked off the week high, then tumbled, only to recover on Friday. The 45th ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting and related meetings were held this week in Brunei. Discussions on the ASEAN Economic Community 2015 were at the top of the agenda. The ministers reviewed progress in deepening integration among ASEAN member states, especially on trade in goods and services, as well as investment. Regional cooperation on matters related to small and medium-sized enterprises, competition policy, and consumer protection were also highlighted. During the 3 days, the ministers also held talks with counterparts from ASEAN dialogue partners, including China, Japan, the Republic of Korea, India, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, and Russia. Now, current and prospective members of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, including Vietnam, on Thursday gathered in Brunei for the 19th round of TPP negotiations. Japan joined for the first time after it became a member last month. The 9-day round focuses on issues related to intellectual property rights, state-owned businesses, and tariffs. Delegates of the TPP's nations will hold bilateral sessions to present requests and offers related to tariffs. The 12 current and prospective member countries of the Trans-Pacific Partnership create a market for 790 million people and account for 1/3 of global trade. The Office of the Government has lent its support to a proposal allowing foreign firms to have greater stakeholding in a list of companies. The new draft proposed by the Ministry of Finance and State Securities Commission would allow foreign investors to hold up to 59% of charter capital in a company, 10% more than the current cap. The enterprises affected by the new regulations would be state companies that did not require major state holdings. In addition, measures to boost the stock market are also suggested, including the issuance of non-voting depository receipts. The State Bank of Vietnam, or SBV, has announced that it will not adjust the Vietnamese dong on US dollars exchange rate and will continue to install measures to keep the rate stable. The foreign exchange rate saw an increase on Thursday because of speculation in the market caused by rumors about the SBV's intention. However, SBV has insisted that based on current market principles and performance, the demand and supply for the foreign exchange rates still remain normal. In addition, State Bank of Vietnam added that the foreign exchange market has been stabilized, partly thanks to stricter management of buying and selling of currency. And that's the review of last week. Up next, you will learn more about the merger and acquisitions market in Vietnam in our Crosstalk. According to the 2013 Merger and Acquisition Forum being held in early August in Ho Chi Minh City, The value of M&A transactions in 2012 reached its record of $5.1 billion, an impressive leap from $1.1 billion in 2009. Despite difficult macroeconomy and increasing regional competition for capital, M&A transactions in Vietnam still increased in volume and value. The question now is not whether M&A will reach its potential in Vietnam, but how quickly. So what are still the hurdles and what does the future hold for M&A in Vietnam? A few days ago, I had a chance to talk with Mr.Phil Smith, Director of Restructuring Services of KPMG in Vietnam, to find out the answers to those questions. Before listening to our talk, you will take a look at some of the highlights in the M&A scene in Vietnam, as well as the notable trends over the past years in our following report.
$5 billion can be seen as a milestone in the development of M&A activity in Vietnam. This is the result of 300 successful deals, a big jump from only 92 in 2008. $5 billion can also be an unbreakable record, as many insiders and analysts predict that this year's figure can only manage to reach $4 billion. However, 2013 has witnessed a few huge M&A deals. In January, KKR & Company, the US-based private equity firm, more than doubled its stake in a unit of Masan Group. The firm poured an additional $200 million into Masan Consumer Corporation, a fish sauce maker, after buying a 10% stake for $159 million in April 2011. In May, US buyout fund Warburg Pincus bought around 20% of the retail unit of Vietnam's Vingroup joint stock company for $200 million.
Hai cái vụ M&A này đúng là đình đám đấy. Và nếu mà đánh
These two deals are really huge. Overall, it shows some important points. First of all, these are both big-scale M&A deals worth over $150 to $200 million. Secondly, it brings Vietnam two giant foreign companies. The two Vietnamese firms that benefited from the investment are now stronger and larger in scale. Thirdly, the investment from these two well-known foreign companies who have great expertise in the global market demonstrate the attractiveness of the Vietnamese market, which on average grows by 6 to 7% per year and has a large population of young people.
Vietnam's M&A landscape has seen the dominant role of foreign buyers. However, Vietnamese firms are also playing increasingly active roles as buyers. In 2011, Thiên Minh Group, a leading Vietnamese tourism and hospitality investment company, has acquired 5 properties from Victoria Hotels and Resorts. These all rate 4 or 5-star standards and offer a total of 430 rooms. Thiên Minh started negotiating with Victoria Hotels' then-owner in 2009. The deal was signed in mid-2010 but finished in February 2011 and given a value of $45 million.
Đặc điểm chính của Victoria Hotel mà chúng tôi cảm thấy là phù hợp.
We were interested in Victoria Hotels because these hotels, with their distinctive culture and architectural values, has specialized in serving foreign tourists for a long time in Vietnam. Foreign tourists are also Thiên Minh Group's customer targets. After acquiring Victoria, Thiên Minh's portfolio became even stronger, with 11 3- and 4-star hotels. Our hotel management skills have improved. Our customers are generally very satisfied with Victoria Hotels. Thiên Minh and Victoria Hotels have created some positive synergy with these M&A. In my opinion, the story of Vietnamese businesses getting more active as buyers is the story of seeking ways to survive. Many investment channels have been proved ineffective, such as horizontal or intersector investment. Companies have sought ways to merge vertically within their supply chain. Thiên Minh's acquisition of Victoria Hotels is an example. Vietnamese companies are now both active as buyers and sellers, as they are aware of the usefulness of M&A as a tool to mobilize capital.
Thank you very much for joining our program.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
As an expert in the M&A market in Vietnam, what do you think are keys to a transaction success?
In terms of the factors that will determine whether a deal is successful, price expectations is critical. Going back in the history